Hi there, everybody. My name is Kate, and welcome to my channel, Trinergy Awakens Naturally. So I'm puttering around today, and I got this major download of information that I was asked to share. What I've gotten is there's a lot of question about how things are organized out in outer space or in astral space or dimensionally, or how to kind of structure what our understanding is of spirituality. That has been an overwhelming question over the last, I would say, 24 hours or so, that it keeps dropping in, that there's a lot of confusion somewhere, that there's people, a cluster, a collective of people that is really starting to open up their third eye, is decalcifying, and they're starting to really kind of see some things that seem a little spooky, a little bit weird, or they are already in that, and it's starting to get into, I can see even more interdimensionally, etc., or I can see things that I didn't used to be able to see or feel, perceive, smell, taste, touch. My senses are being restructured and reorganized. And so the question is, sometimes when we come from an old framework, all right, we come from perhaps a religious framework. We're given the doctrine, we're given the theology, we're given the protocols for all of life, how to do this, and this is the handbook for how here's what you do. And when we're reared in that, and it really doesn't matter if it's religion, this particular period that I'm talking about right now is related specifically to people's spiritual journey, but it applies across the board. We are creatures of habits, human beings. We like structure, we like organization, we like to know stuff, we like to organize and label things so that we can understand it. That which we do not understand, we do not often receive well. That's just kind of the way that we're wired. In the past, very much wired in the fight or flight, and it's just progressed to the point that anything different, anything out of our comfort zone, anything out of what we really want to be doing, can really spark off some incredibly volatile feelings, responses, reactions, and energetic blasts and exchanges that are really no longer forgiven in those giant explosions. We're not doing Hiroshima emotionally anymore. Those days are over. So while we're transitioning out of that age of Pisces stuff, and making that transition over into the age of Aquarius, there are people who are wondering, I thought that God was the top honcho, the head honcho, and then there were some angels or something, intercessory of some kind, because I can't go directly to God for some religions. And then, there's usually some sort of a structure or hierarchy for us to understand, to make sense out of, what we're doing and how it's organized, even if we find out later that it really wasn't structured very well, maybe. It didn't really get the greatest result. It wasn't the most effective. It wasn't the kindest. It just got a job done. Now, my background is in EMS, emergency medicine, pre-hospital care as a paramedic provider. Now, part of what happens there is that we learn protocols. They are, and you don't deviate, right? You learn a protocol, airway, breathing, circulation. If there's something wrong with airway, you stop right there and start doing a, oopsie poopsie airway management scenario. And you start digging in with the deets right there, right? But it is a carefully laid out protocol. That carefully laid out protocol has come from years and years and years and years and years of research and data supporting how we can do this better. Because observing someone who's going, and falling to the ground and doing nothing, we decided somewhere in our evolutionary process as human beings that, hey, that seems like we should be able to intervene there and do something besides just look at the tragedy and go, "Aw, that's too bad," and get all upset. So we found ways to intervene. And as we're learning new ways to change, what we're doing, they're oftentimes not the most streamlined or the most effective or going to get the best results. Some of them are just bolos. They're bad, they're bad ideas. And don't do that, so we're going to not put that into the protocol. That's what we used to do, but it really wasn't very effective or good. And so EMS is all about we're constantly upgrading and looking always for the next best solution. That, okay, that protocol didn't run smoothly, didn't go well. If we consistently have a problem with a protocol, that every provider seems to be running into a glitch with this protocol, then we really need to be looking at the protocol itself. If it's a one-off and, that's you, that's the provider specifically, that's a technical foul on your end, not the actual protocol. But the system itself has to update. Earth is updating. She's already got her iOS updated, and we go through major updates at very specific calendar times, and we also go through updates that kind of slick in when we're not looking, right? We have forced updates sometimes to our systems, and while that's happening, the protocol is being restructured. Some of our ideas about, airway breathing and circulation just weren't good. They weren't getting us the best results. And Earth moved on. Earth, has decided she's ready. She's made her transition. And hey, humans, let's come on with. Well, understanding that protocol system means that we understand the hierarchy, is that religion really doesn't apply the same way. Not for me, and not for a lot of people who are working in that light worker, starseed, chosen people, however you identify, energy healer, in that high vibrational stuff, starseed, earth angel. That we're really working in a very different protocol that serves better, that gets better results, that our airway breathing circulation, that protocol, we've looked at all the data over all this time, and galactically, spiritually, energetically, quantumly, however you can embrace that and understand that, all of the information of Earth and what we've been doing down here is tracked. There's no piece of any part of this whole Earth experience that isn't observed, known, and calculated and put into a hall of records. There's a way that this is systematically organized. The whole God concept, if you will, the vibratory fields and the dimensions, though we don't understand them scientifically to really get those protocols and the hierarchy and all of that, to really be able to handle that in a more solidified way. People really want to have things look like, they make sense. Right now, we're not in that period where that makes sense. We're just not in that period where we can openly talk about and be well received everywhere, or anywhere for some of us, that we're talking about connecting with nature in a different way, that we're connecting with elementals, that we're working with the devas, that we're working with energy in a way that is very different than anything that we've seen on the planet on a mass scale. But if you think about it in terms of, why would we believe that there's a God source or a person type top brass that's in charge? We don't have any validation as children. That used to confuse me a lot. About, they're telling me, and I was not reared in any particular church for very long. We were just kind of sent wherever to not be around on a Sunday morning. If a bus could pick us up, it took us, and we went on. And they were very, very, very harsh, far-right experiences that were very frightening. And I would think, as a young child even, that you're expecting me to believe in something that's so scary, but also loves and adores me. And I felt that connection to the Christ consciousness, that Jesus Christ experience, that wholesome, pure connection to spirit. I felt that, and yet I couldn't make sense out of, I don't understand. You're asking me to believe something that's really hard for me to believe, that this isn't making sense. Well, if you have people who are heavily indoctrinated and just never have an opportunity to really question that without someone stomping it out, without someone stomping it down, why would it seem or sound any weirder to believe in some version of God that is going to ultimately be in charge? However, we're down here petitioning for help. I mean, we're already believing a story that we really don't have any validation for. We really don't have any validation for any one of the stories that we really hear a lot about. We have some anecdotal evidence. We definitely have a whole lot of channeling that I'm okay with. But again, these are avenues of, we're already believing some out there stuff. We have people who believe that Jesus changed water into wine and walked on water as well, healed the sick. So if we're already believing that that's possible and that it had already happened, then why would we not believe the upscaled, evolved version of that? That now looks like exactly what Jesus was talking about, that you too can do all this stuff. And JC was right. We really can. We can do all of those things. However, we have to understand the hierarchy. We have to understand ourselves within that. And we have to understand that it looks a lot different than it did 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. There are so many energetic sources on this planet, and there are so many billions of people. However, those people carry collective energy for generations, that some are in some very complicated timelines and some extremely, extremely harsh contracts that are being torn apart, broken down, and exploded off this planet. We are not doing that level of play anymore. The ratchet, vibratory field is what's going extinct. And I'm not telling you that the extinction process is some big mass flood. I don't get that, and I don't really like to go too far into what those predictions and things look like. I do get scenarios in my head of some things, 11:11. However, basically, I'm on a completely different understanding that timing is really based more on a sequential happening of events, and has less to do with me knowing about what date this is happening and all of that. That gets into some very subterranean details that, for me personally, my work isn't there. My work is on a much grander scale of understanding the bigger picture, and not to get too narrow right there. Doesn't mean I know more necessarily. It means that my job or my abilities really work better to see the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is to understand the hierarchy. We have lots of different energetic sources. We have people on the planet who have different DNA than the average human. So there's got to be the belief. If we're willing to believe that Jesus walked on water, then why are we not believing the science of that we have folks on the planet that genetically and DNA, they are different than the average human being. They have a different genetic structure and DNA structure. So if we're willing to believe stuff that we cannot prove, there's not a soul on this planet that can definitively prove. A lot of people believe it, but we can't definitively prove by scientific standards that miracles happened in the past. We cannot prove that Jesus raised the dead. We only know that anecdotally, as far as anyone is concerned on the planet. I'm not aware of any, major scientific evidence that we have of that. So if we're willing to believe that, and I do believe that, I do know that, I do believe that, but that's me believing it because I know other things and have seen other miraculous things, not just taking it as I believe that because that's what this book told me to believe. I marry that up with the scientific side of it, is that I can see and I can feel and experience this. But what are other people? How are they arriving at that? Yeah, Lazarus was raised from the dead, but I'm not willing to believe that I could see something that might not be wearing a body the way that I'm typically used to seeing it. Why would I not believe in a hierarchical structure, that this isn't just a free-for-all, it's not random, and the universe is a very tidy and orderly mathematical precision experience. It's not random. People think of spirituality as being very foo-foo and rainbows and unicorns and bubbles and, pleasant smelling farts, I guess. And it is that kind of, and it's also a very precise process, very mathematical, very patterned, very orderly. It's very much, for me personally, like observing The Matrix. When I watched The Matrix, that movie was just, it hit. And thank you. This helps me understand the hierarchy, kind of, sort of, that it's being able to observe and know that I'm looking at code. I'm seeing and observing in code here, and I'm seeing the patterns, and I'm seeing this, that, and the other. And I'm also occasionally seeing the red dress go by and, being distracted. And I'm seeing Agent Smith, who, just zero, soulless type people. They have a soul. I don't believe in soulless. That's not what I get. There's no one expendable, because if we make anyone soulless and expendable, that gives some someone the authority in their mind to destroy that, because this is the year of justice. And humans taking that 1444 into their own hands has been a real problem. So I'm all about, I'm going to understand my chain of command. And when I know that I'm top brass on some shit, I take care of it. And when I know we're needing, if I feel hesitation, that's how I know that, I need some more guidance, because I have chain of command above me that needs to guide this and direct that. And that chain of command can be coming from an angelic realm. It can be coming from the Fae. It can be coming from minerals, rocks, trees, coming from the natural order. It can also be coming from collectives of alien, ET, I don't know how other people, label that stuff, but off-planet, other planet intelligence. So the Saint Germain, things that we're talking about, outer space kind of stuff that a majority of the planet just cannot hang with. They can't cope, and that's fine. This message is not for them. It's for whoever it is that would be questioning, well, I'm kind of in the spiritual thing, but for me personally, this is where I hung up. It seems like it was all portrayed as being real bubbly and, unicorn farts and rainbows and lollipops and strawberry shortcake all the time. And it kind of is. However, it kind of isn't, because we live in a polarized Earth experience where we have a good and a bad. Well, then we're going to be experiencing all of that all the time, right? If we're subject to all the swings and the imbalance. And part of my balancing is being able to observe the matrix, observe the red dress when it shows up, observe the Agent Smiths as they're tooling around, bumbling, falling down, saying ridiculous things, doing ridiculous things, and red dresses are attempting to, come on in. We've got a lot of people that are really, really, they're collective of whatever that intelligence is that informs their decisions. They're not all the highest vibrational fields. Some of those fields are leaving and they're mad, and they're directing vicariously, just energetically, these waves of confusion, discombobulation, anger, and rage. And then on top of that, you're taking geographical locations, contracts that are huge, like humanity contracts, where we're enslaving people, where we're abusing Earth, where we are tormenting, animals, where we are doing just huge collective consciousness decisions that were wrong. Not, just slightly off. They were wrong. They were out of balance. They took Earth to a place of here and took humanity with it, because humanity is what drove it. Our free will choice as human beings, for as long as we've been roaming around on the planet, our free will choice has brought us right here. And every collective that has been working with Earth is working in those huge dynamics, right down to the micro dynamic of helping to mold and shape. They cannot intervene. They cannot come in, take over, and push the human collective around. However, they certainly can set up weather patterns, nature events, collective group mass events, things like that again, I don't get into predicting all of that. That's not what's given to me. It's given to me that that these are the activities. You can see those. And so the potential for it to go any direction at all is always right there, because every possibility is possible all the time. Every possibility is possible all the time. It's a matter of, you're standing on a stage, right? Or you're off stage and you're waiting in the wings to go on stage. Well, if you're waiting in the wings, so to speak, and you're going on stage, think of it in terms that every decision we make changes what wings we're standing in as to what stage we enter on and what stage we enter or exit off of. So at any point, we are setting up our stage for where we're going to be standing next and presenting our whatever. And if we're presenting our whatever to the audience and it's not received well, then we get to go into the wings and start choosing again. These are, I'm talking rapid lickety-split quantum kind of stuff, that things are constantly setting themselves up with the energy that we are bringing to the whole entire experience. Now, with that, in that hierarchy understanding, is that we are also doing that as the very, very, very humble, lowly human beings who don't quite understand on a mass scale that we're doing all of that within the context of being very, very, very small minutia upside what's really able to manage this earth and her transitioning and upgrades and evolution better than we ever thought we could. We have zero effective power, really. If Earth or any of the energies that support this process wanted to be petty, nasty, horrible, cruel, all that other stuff, we could have been taken out at any time. Earth has the ability to purge this whole entire globe. Anytime she wants to, she could purge us. She could just be done. However, that is not what's coming in 2020. That's not the intelligence that's coming into me or anyone that I'm sharing information with or hearing or listening to. That's not what we're saying. And these are people that I randomly listen to, spiritualists and things. I randomly will pick people just to drop in and say, and let me hear what that spiritualist spirit leads me to videos, leads me to speak to people, leads me to see something or hear something or listen to some sort of a textbook, an audiobook that I've never heard before that answers the question of that right there. There is a whole laid out plan in that it's got a structure, and we enact that plan individually everywhere we're deciding, which is constantly, which is easier to just stay high vibration and order my steps, spirit, thank you. And that takes away a lot of the concern. However, you have a lot of people that they're not operating like that. And people that are conflicted about it, we don't have a choice. This is this evolution is happening. It continues to happen. And it doesn't really need our vote of confidence or our rebellion because it's being handled regardless. And it is being handled by intelligence that loves this whole earth and everything that's a part of it. It's a loving frequency that all of this support is pouring into earth and supporting. It does not look very loving, however, because we have taken this to the point of rebellion, that the kindest thing that can happen is that we're being slapped and sat down in places. If we're not asking for our steps to be ordered, then the universe is telling us on individual scales, on collective scales, on geographic scales, on contractual scales, on all kinds of different platforms. Everywhere that the consciousness is changing. We need to choose differently. We need to choose better. And we need to choose with kindness. And if we don't, then we're sat down in all kinds of places where, old slave contracts and things, those are done. Those are done. And anyone that is teaching another person how to break free from all that karmic debt, that is a good thing. However, instilling any part of it where we're not understanding that we have our own power and we've been almost misrepresenting in a way. Some people have really misrepresented the whole manifestation and how we, master manifester and how we can use our magic skills, our manifestation skills and all of that. And we've gotten into ways of abusing magical powers, arcane knowledge. Anywhere that something was, it became either very great or very not so great. And let me promise you, it did both. Anything that is part of human evolution is that we have people who are working and creating these great ideas and they're awesome and, really supportive. And then somebody else who's going to take that same idea and bastardize it and go this way with it. Like computers. Computers help us immensely. But you have people who computer hack as their way of creatively going forward. And those days where we're doing that battle of, good and evil, that's the very thing that's shifting. So we don't have time to misunderstand that we're lowly humans. And though we are, some of us master manifestors, I think we can really, push off the idea that we're going to tell any chain of command. I would be remiss if I really believed that I'm the top of the chain of command and that's where it lands forever and ever. I defer constantly to the chain of command above me. However, I do have my own independence to, move about the cabin freely. And when I start feeling that that's my management, that's my CEO, that's my spirits, that's command saying, as if I was Jason Bourne right here. That's exactly how I experienced that, is that it's a Jason Bourne experience, because Spirit needs feet on the ground to gather the intelligence, right? We need actual people walking and doing this job, the Jason Bourne thing. We need that person to be walking on ground, actually doing this and completing their mission, doing this work. We need them. And he, in order to do his job the best and with the greatest amount of safety and support, he needs that connection right there to those that have the bigger picture and can say, yo, take a left right there. Now go down that street, whoop, divert left right quick, and this is the mission, we're gonna do this, and they lay out what it is he needs to do, and he's an integral part of it. But he could not complete that mission without them, and they could not have that mission be completed without him, unless they train a whole new Jason Bourne and da. So you see how it is that light workers and star seeds, we need all the Jason Bourne light workers and star seeds not to get distracted with knowing that, we might come from a religious background and it might sound like we don't have any authority, or that we do, or there's just a lot of confusion. We have all kinds of authority on the things that we have authority, over which we have authority, and not so much on the others. And that's that hierarchical structure. This is very patterned, it's orderly, and it's not a free-for-all. And the enlisted folks in the military do not sit with top brass. You do not have general officers who sit, with the enlisted folks daily. It's not part of what that management system is. There's a level of respect that I'm down here as the enlisted, then I defer to who's above me. And there's a chain of command that the general should not need to come and reprimand an enlisted person. That's not that person's job. It's not the general's job to come and hobnob with the commoners, nor is it to come and shape and mold the behavior of the commoners. We have folks that's their job, that's closer to their level of experience, closer to their vibrational field. But that does not mean that vibrational field up here doesn't exist and doesn't have a trickle down of I expect that to happen. That's how that chain of command works, is it works up and it works down. That I'm not paying attention, it's going to move its way up to the general, and the general is going to continue to rehabilitate through the officers and the NCOs that actually are in charge of that particular soldier. And if that soldier, I can't imagine in the actual military why this would happen, but if you think about it theoretically, that if that soldier was some super soldier that we just have to have this one, we have to have them rehabilitate, we have to have them stay out of those UCMJ experiences, we have to keep them from fighting and whatever, then it would be the general who came and said, yeah, I'm going to snatch a knot in your tail if you don't get this straightened out, and would put him probably on some sort of reprimand. Like I said, in real human life, that you're not going to find a general, more than likely. Can't imagine why. That doesn't happen on a large scale. But in spirit, that very much happens, that when top brass has to talk to us, we have really gone over the line, and we've breached some major international, in cosmic law, if we are getting the cosmic commander as our, whatever, and not understanding any of that. We're just getting harsher and harsher treatment or experiences or karmic return or however it is. And we may not understand that it's really a matter of repatterning and rethinking about, do I believe the old structure 2828, and that none of this stuff is really real. It's just spiritualized stuff is foofy and it's sweet and it's cotton candy. Religion's too harsh. It's got too much structure and too much. Well, there's a balance. And remember, anywhere that something could have gone extreme, it did, whether it was positive or negative. That's the way humans are. That's the way this experience is. You've got somebody that found something great. You have somebody on the same level on the other end that's finding it horrible. So that's how that kind of rolls, and I hope that that's made some sense, that there is a hierarchy. We answer to some sort of something above us. It's a matter of understanding what that hierarchy is as pertains to what's my work here. Do I have work here? And if we have work as a light worker, we often start deferring to many different intelligence groups that they run different operations on this planet. It sounds kind of, goofy because spiritualists like to do the love, light, and joy thing, and that there's love, light, and joy. However, this is an operation. This is a machine that has to work in the machine parts of it, and then we're putting the emotion in too. However, there's a structure, and the structure is not made with cotton candy and unicorns. It's not. It's made with a very high vibrational ethic, and it's put in place with the understanding that we're in a new paradigm. However, there's nothing fuzzy or not friendly, but like squishy, or it's not cuddly. It's a system. And it's in place. And the people, it's not people, the intelligences, the light beings that are operating in that system, they are where you get those warm squishies and the delightful when it's that collective. When it's a more, soldierly collective, or a more technical collective, or a more science-oriented or something, it may not feel so warm and fuzzy. However, that doesn't mean that it's not high vibrational. Just because it comes from the God seed or the high vibration doesn't mean that it will always feel like a warm hug. I see technology sometimes, and I see outer space and the Hubble and the newer telescope, the James Webb telescope. I see those things. Those are technology, and those just excite me, and I feel that passion for, wow, cool, neat. However, I can't say that I necessarily feel some big giant bear hug. So you get what I'm saying, is that there's collectives that are supporting this planet, and they are working in high vibration, and anything that's serving the collective good of this planet, it's what I want to be a part of. And by studying my own self and my own hierarchy, I can then be able to understand, okay, who do I answer to, and how do I answer to that? Remember, Jason Bourne, he's working with a bunch of different intelligence gathering agencies. He has one main one, and then he works with a bunch of different assets from all over. And they're going to get the ability to get the mission done. They're going to collaboratively be able to get this mission complete, because he's eyes on the ground, able to actually move out, completing the mission while getting the intelligence of the higher perspective and the bigger objective. The bigger objective is always more than what I know. I have no idea. The bigger objective overall is that we're going up, we're transitioning, and we're, moving into New Earth. I do understand that. However, there's huge mission briefs all over the place that I'm not given that level of intelligence, and no one else on the earth is. As human being lay people, we're not given that level because there's no reason to. Jason Bourne doesn't need to understand how that one mission, which is huge, it's huge. However, he doesn't have to understand how that fits into the big global mission that it's plugging into. And we are always plugging into something higher. If you look up and you see the hierarchy there, it answers to something higher than that. Keep looking and keep climbing as you're looking, and there you get Jacob's ladder to climb up into heaven, because heaven and earth, the veil's gone. You can pretty much travel very well through those experiences if you care to. It changes. It has to be that we change the way we're understanding this old paradigm, and then be willing to know that that old paradigm is no longer serving, which is why it's so confusing, which is why you have a lot of people upset, which is why you have a lot of people going, well, that couldn't be. Yeah, if you believe in Jesus, why wouldn't you believe that somebody could walk on water? And that will not answer the question appropriately, obviously, for people who don't believe in Jesus or don't believe in miracles and all of that. And that's fine. Those are people that wouldn't be terribly interested anyway, so I'm not really referencing them. I'm saying, though, that if you've already bought into some sort of story, then why not be willing to know that miracles are happening all the time? We are miracles, and Jesus was right. We're here doing far more than he did already. It's just that he kept evolving, and his energy is able to do even more than we're able to do on this planet. We are doing more. We are creating miracles. I have eyesight today, 2020, because someone took Jesus' ethic, even if they aren't a Christian or saved. That physician went to school and learned how to create 20/20 vision in a woman that was damn near blind and full of cataracts. That, to me, was a Jesus Christ miracle, that these things and more you will do. He never said that we wouldn't do it without the help of a scalpel, that we would do it without the help of technology, that we would do it without the help of science. He never said that. He was the precursor to how it's all going to look. He was doing it without any of that stuff because we didn't have it. But now, whoop, pull forward and wow, we do. So 34. How's that said? I mean, that's really how it is that he was the precursor and here we are. How's that feel to kind of rethink that and say, I guess we are really doing miraculous things. It's just that the miracle stuff, the stuff that would have seemed like impossible 2,000 years ago, nuclear would have seemed pretty, out there. We can take our miracles or our miraculous discovery and use them for really great stuff, or use them for really not so great stuff. And the hierarchy, that's what ultimately is going to help decide this, how it all goes forward as we are co-creating, and not so much of that I'm just manifesting and getting what I want to. We're not there in that game anymore. It's 2024. Welcome. So I hope that's been helpful for you, and I hope that you're enjoying your day, whatever part of the day you're in, and get within your skin, friends, because you're divine. It's absolutely fine. And there's a hierarchy. There's a whole protocol for how you can speak to your chain of command. There's a whole, way that you can do that. And when I say protocol, I'm just saying there's an orderly way to do it. It doesn't have to be that I do this, I sage this way, I put this crystal, unless that's what you need to do, then that's not how you need to do it. That's the joy and the beauty of being a sovereign being. A sovereign energetic being is that I listen to my command tell me how I reach my command. And I follow that protocol, and that sharpens me up for how I can stay consistently with command in my ear of, hey, what's going on here? And if I forget, that my earpiece is there and I need intervention, I keep that connection open and that line of communication open. Don't ever take that earpiece out. Keep that in. Then I'm going to get that, stop, don't do that. And I do. That's a learned skill, though. And it was learned after getting over the humps throughout my lifetime of disbelief. It's time to believe in something new. I'm ready anyway to believe in a whole lot more than what I had to believe of the past. Once I had to believe, I didn't believe that was as awful as it was, and now I do. And now, okay, then I'm willing to believe that all kinds of magical, wonderful things are happening, can happen, do happen, will happen. I mean, that is all very true. It's a matter of shifting that, I see now, and work from this understanding instead of my own, and I'm just going to hope and pray that I call one day and hopefully get through to God or my guides or something. That's the way that is for me. So anyway, as I said, I hope you're well. Take care of yourself. Get within your skin because you're divine. Absolutely fine. Take care of your beautiful selves, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye, friends. Mwah.